Use your powers for evil, Schell.
Your evil is mine.
Hello, and welcome to what will probably be the most wild, out of control, bat shit crazy episode of Next Stop Everywhere, the podcast all about Doctor Who. I am Jesse Jackson, who is going to be trying to keep not one, not two, three, four people in line, including myself, as we discuss City of Death, a classic Doctor Who episode. Charles, who you cannot see, is not only wearing a Tom Baker t-shirt, but a fourth Doctor scarf.
That's right. All the cool kids. Hello. All the cool kids have the cool Tom Baker scarf.
I want a scarf so bad.
I have one, but it's...
But to be fair, it's only the mini version. But,
yes.
But that's good for sitting down because that way it's
Absolutely.
not all over the place. But yes.
And we have two returning guests. As we are working through our rewind and spending time as we wait, it's only 19 days till new Doctor Who. We've gone through many classic and modern era episodes, and the podcast mom herself, Karen Lindsay, is the one who suggested this because she wanted to be on again, and she thought that it would be fun to talk to my other Doctor Who godfather, Ken Schaefer. So we have Karen and
Hello, because I heard that Ken kind of likes it when I'm on the show, and I wanted to meet him. So
Absolutely. And Tom Baker's my doctor too, so that works out great.
yay!
And Ken, you did a really great job the last time you were on. I just want to point that out.
Well, thank you, Charles.
So you're definitely welcome back. So we're glad to have you back.
Has anyone been on that's not welcome back?
No, but
yeah,
without naming names, some have been better than others.
Okay.
Yes.
Don't you like how I did that?
And at least to Ken's credit, at least he's not calling from his car.
And
that's all I'm saying.
And it was really funny because Ken, when we were going to talk the Doctor Who movie, I wanted Ken to join us, and he was reluctant. He goes, I just don't know if I could add anything, and I'm not sure this would work out. And so I twisted his arm to talk, and when we went to lunch, he went, that was a lot more fun than I thought it was. And so I am very glad that we're on here. And we are talking a Tom Baker classic, City of Death.
Yeah, I'm glad I picked the Tom Baker one for my second because I picked a fun one to talk about last time, but it wasn't my doctor. So.
Exactly. And you know what's funny is in the one of the BBC America specials, they show the scene where the doctor meets the Countess. You know, where he kind of falls on the chair.
Falls. Yep.
Right.
Yeah, talks. And so it was kind of fun seeing that in context. So I'm going to tell you real quick. We're going to go around the table, our quick thoughts, and then Charles is going to give us a little background on it. But this was awesome. I've really liked a lot of the classic episodes we've watched, and some of them I've been not as impressed with. But this was top notch in every way.
It holds up pretty well.
It's stellar,
Yes,
I think.
It really is.
Because it's so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and it is, and it has a great cast. You know, the two, the kind of villains are interesting. The whole premise is interesting. It gives you a pretty good story. The quasi companion, the private eye is good. This is just a lot of fun.
Yeah, the tacked on companion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's just there to thump people.
Yeah.
The canine replacement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because he was cheaper than having canine.
Yep.
Canine, we got a shout out.
Yeah, he did. He got a little shout out. How are you feeling, Canine?
Yeah.
Because he was supposed to be in the original episode, in the original draft, he was supposed to be in it all the time. But they
Right.
cut him out because of like cost stuff. Yeah. And so
Right.
they had to at least throw in a recognition because he's the previous episode, he's in it the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, where's Canine?
Well, apparently, like shipping him to Paris when he filmed this would have been a huge pain in the ass. So,
Prohibitive. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
So, Charles, you want to give us a little background on the episode, and then Karen, do you want to share us why you picked this one?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Karen,
Charles?
do you want to go first?
Who does?
Do you want to go first, and then I'll just
Sure.
okay, go for it. Go ahead.
Well, A is Tom Baker.
Mhm.
Yes.
B, this is the episode that if you want someone to start watching Doctor Who, this is the one you tell them to watch.
Okay.
And you give it to them. You put it on a CD or a DVD and you hand it to them, or a flash drive, or whatever you can do. And you give it to them and you say, watch this one. And this gets them hooked on the old Doctor Who, and it can also hook them into the new one because it's fun. It's a great story. It is sci-fi. It is it's a great story. It's an action mystery sort of thing, and I don't know, it's just great. And it doesn't matter that like the special effects aren't great. It just doesn't matter. You forgive things because the story is just,
It's fun.
it's amazing. Yeah. And then, you can also say things to them after they watch it that makes them go, really? And then, it's just great. I mean, I can't say anything more about it. I've gotten people hooked on Doctor Who by telling them to watch this episode. So, that's
so it's your good entry
favorite
point
thing.
episode to people.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Very nice. Your gateway
Yep.
drug, so to speak. Okay. Very
That's
good.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Get them while they're young.
So, Charles, we end up asking you this, and so I thought I'd put it on the agenda.
Okay.
Because you usually do have a little bit of background to share with us. So,
Just a wee bit.
yes, absolutely.
Are you going to steal some of mine? I bet you
Well,
ain't.
Yeah,
Well-
he's probably gonna steal some of mine too.
Well,
yeah.
That's okay.
I already had mine, but you can fill in some of my gaps. How's that?
Okay. And this is a free discussion. Absolutely.
I don't know. Do you want to fill in my gaps, or do I want to?
Ow. Nope. We'll just yeah. Oh, yeah. Bring a little fandom zone. Next up.
That's right.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right. This is obviously, as Karen said, this is a great Tom Baker episode. This was actually from 1979, back in the original season 17 of Doctor Who. It was the second serial of the season, and it was written by quote unquote David Agnew,
Yeah.
which is
David Agnew.
Yes.
with his laser beams on his shirt. Head and all that. But this is a pseudonym for Douglas Adams, who was the script editor at the time, Graham Williams, who was the producer at the time, and David Fisher, the guy who originally pitched the idea. Originally, this was going to be set in the 1920s. This is actually going to be set in 1928. It was originally called The Gamble with Time. And then through various trying to figure out how to actually film this episode, because originally it was going to be set in 1928 London, and then in Paris, and then of course in primordial Earth, that apparently they decided, well, okay, this is getting way too expensive, we got to trim this down. So they cut out the 1920 stuff entirely, shifted the action to Paris, where everything's kind of centrally located, and then did the primordial Earth stuff on top of it. But Douglas Adams reportedly just took Fisher's script and locked himself in a hotel room with a bunch of whiskey and just rewrote the whole thing over the course of a weekend. At least that's how the legend goes.
Well, the infotech said it was 3 days that they didn't sleep, that him and Graham were in a room and they didn't sleep for 3 days while they banged it out.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like Jeff Lynne writing out of the blue,
Right.
But yeah,
I'm curious sometime before we get to the episode discussion,
Mhm.
I'd like to hear, if you guys know how we got such a great writer to be story editor of Doctor Who. Because of Hitchhiker's Galaxy and all these other things.
Hitchhikers was published during this episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's because he wasn't well known when he
right
started
at the
with
time.
Doctor
Yeah,
Who.
he was his career was on the ascent. I mean, he was basically like doing odd jobs and all kinds of things, and then worked his way into the Doctor Who office. Became script editor. And then kind of made a little bit of a name for himself, and then got Hitchhikers out, and then kind of his career took off from there.
And then he was gold.
Yeah, so
literally published when this episode aired.
Okay, so that makes interesting. I did not know that. Okay.
And the reason he took over is because what's his name? Fisher, the first guy?
Yeah.
He was getting a divorce.
Yeah.
And he dropped out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he couldn't.
Well, he's
come
going
in.
through all this
He wanted
stuff,
to-
and he couldn't do the rewrites. So,
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is fortuitous, I think.
I think so.
Because we got
Oh, yeah.
an amazing episode out of
So
it.
this is an unofficially official Douglas Adams script for all intents and purposes.
Right.
And it's
And-
really obvious.
You can
listen
tell
to
because of the
it.
dialogue.
Oh,
Because
yeah. It's
every
got Douglas
line
Adams all over it.
sings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
it's quick,
one-liner,
snappy.
one-liner after one-liner, just flying at all directions, and even a nice little Monty Python cameo to boot in episode
Yeah.
4.
Yeah, I love it.
Because Douglas Adams was tight with the Monty Python guys.
Was good
Yeah.
for them. Yep.
So he invited them to cameo. Or at least
Yeah.
John Cleese.
Yeah, please was. Well, and that lady too.
Yeah, Eleanor Braun.
Braun.
This
Yeah.
police box is exquisite.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, here's a little tidbit I bet Karen doesn't know about Eleanor Braun.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah. Did you know that Eleanor Braun, her name was the inspiration for the song Eleanor Rigby by Paul McCartney?
I didn't know that, but I did know she was in Help.
Yes, exactly. She was in Help. And I'm guessing that's probably where McCartney met her. And he was writing the song and then apparently took her name for Eleanor Rigby.
Cool.
Oh,
How about
interesting.
that?
That's
How
very
Yeah,
cool.
she was in Help and Alfie and Ab Fab, and also one of my guilty pleasure rom-com movies, Wimbledon,
Okay.
which I love.
I'm familiar with that one.
movie.
And she's also on an upcoming Colin Baker upcoming from this point.
Yeah.
Colin Baker's story called Revelations of the Daleks.
Oh.
So that was 1985, 4, 5, somewhere in there. So yeah.
Yeah, she's playing a
Interesting.
villain
Okay.
in that one.
Yeah, she's a Kara.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, I was reading right that this is one of the first times they filmed, on location outside of
The first.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, it was okay. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned out to be cheaper to film in Paris than they thought. And so in the end, they got more Paris time and film than they expected. And that was one of the reasons why they end up, running. They did a lot
Running
of
all around in the streets.
Yeah, they do
Yeah.
a lot of running in the streets.
They do.
Yeah, I don't think they do any location filming after this until all the way till Lanzarote in Planet of Fire, Peter Davison's next to last story, if I recall
Yeah,
correctly.
that sounds right.
Hmm
I don't think Tom Baker did another
No.
location.
And I always think of, and I brought this up before, where the different styles of, filming back in the late 70s and now, there's no way they would have the time of no dialogue with them just going through the streets. When they
Oh, yeah.
they leave the they take the tube, they don't fly, which is really funny, and then them walking, though it's a beautiful score, and I didn't find it boring at all. I thought it was interesting to see them flying. I think partly because our female Time Lord wears the heck out of her uniform and straw hat.
Time
I mean,
Lady.
Gotta love
Time
it.
Well, I didn't know. I
Time
didn't want to
lady.
be sexist,
No,
because
they call her Time Lady in
they
the
did. Okay.
Right.
The doctor
Because,
calls her that, and it's the first time that she's referred. Before that, it's always just Time Lords, and it's asexual. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
But he refers to her as a Time Lady in the.
Okay.
Yep.
Very nice.
Cafe.
first time in this episode.
Very interesting.
Mhm.
Cool. Okay. So, anything else,
What
Charles?
else, Charles?
before we get to the episode?
What?
What else, Charles?
What else, Charles? The only other thing I really have to start out, well, obviously, apart from the guest stars themselves, who are quite notable in this episode. I will mention that Michael Hayes directed this story. He previously directed 2 of the Key to Time stories, The Androids of Tara and the season finale, The Armageddon Factor. So this is his 3rd and final Doctor Who for the show. But the guest stars are quite notable, starting right off the bat, obviously, with Julian Glover.
Yeah.
Who, this guy has like serious geek cred. I mean, let's just
Big time.
he played in this story. He plays Count Scarlioni / Scaroth from Jaggeroth,
And Captain Tancredi.
right?
Town Cruddy.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
They only say it once, don't they? I can't remember how they pronounce it.
Tancredi. That's the way
Yeah.
I pronounce it.
Okay.
Yeah. Or Tancredi, however you
Yeah.
want to put it. But he was big. Glover was big for one thing. He was the big bad Christados in For Your Eyes Only,
Mm-hmm.
and he was Walter Donovan, the guy who chose poorly in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yes.
Oh my God,
Wow.
You have chosen
That's-
poorly.
And
Yes.
recently, he's known as the pretty toe-raggy, kind of douchey Grandmaster Pycelle on Game of Thrones.
Yep. And
Which
he
is-
was
We got to
also-
see
What
him
was that?
naked, which
Is that a 4th season? Is that a 4th season reference?
No, he's the because in the first season, remember the guy that walks around
he
and
pretends
all
to be all hobbled.
people, and then we saw him with a one of Littlefinger's young ladies at the end of the first season.
Boy, I don't remember that.
Okay.
No. Old age is setting in on me.
He looks. He dresses like a monk.
He had the big
He has
long
a long
beard.
white beard.
Oh, that guy.
Yes.
Oh, crap.
If you go to IMDb and look
He's
up
on the small
Julian,
council and all
Oh.
this, and
Oh, my
Yeah.
You missed
He's-
a big one, you know.
yeah, I
Well,
mean,
he's won awards for his Shakespearean work, so he's not just a character actor. He's a big ticket Shakespearean guy, like so many people, like
Okay,
Patrick Stewart.
Karen, would you like to fill us in on what else that I missed?
He played General Veers
Right, in Empire.
in The Empire Strikes Back.
Yep, he did.
General.
So there's that too.
Yes.
Oh,
Come on, dude.
he's that guy.
He's the guy in the AT-AT.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's in the ad behind the guy going, yeah,
Yes.
fire him, Eddie. It is that guy. You're right. Oh
Yes.
my God.
and
So,
And-
it's good. So he, needless to say, his geek.
He's insane, this guy.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Big Greek heads there.
he looks so good in his
He's
70s
great.
three-piece suit, and
He's classy, refined.
Even his pajamas. He looks great in his pajamas.
Yeah, in his smoking jacket.
with the ascot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with the ascot.
exactly,
You just gotta
yeah.
love that stuff.
Gotta rock the ascot.
absolutely.
But also, Catherine Schell, who plays Countess Scarlioni,
Mhm.
was the lead opposite Peter Sellers in The Return of the Pink
Return
Panther.
to the Panther. Mhm.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yes.
So you know her there. And then, of course, like I said, cameos by John Cleese and Eleanor
Hey,
Braun.
hey, go back to Catherine Schell.
Catherine
Go
Schell.
ahead.
Right?
Prisoner of Zenda, Space 1999.
Mhm.
She's in 1999. I knew that. Yeah, I recognized her
Yeah,
from that.
okay.
Absolutely.
I have
Next.
not seen 1999 in a long time, but she looked familiar to me, and so I mean, I'm sure.
She had a
Like-
recurring role in Space 1999.
Yeah, and that's pretty close to concurrent. When was that film? It seems like that's late
This was-
70s.
Yeah, this
Wasn't it?
Yeah, it
Space
was-
1999.
Yep.
It was just after this episode aired.
Yeah, that makes sense. That fits everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay, next.
she,
Mm.
well, I just was saying she looked really, classy. You talk about it and carried herself well, attractive with the hairstyle.
And the
Yeah, I
long
mean-
cigarette.
Smoking
Yes,
like a chimney.
yes.
Yes,
The cigarette holder. Yeah.
yes. It.
Cruella de Vil cigarette.
Yeah, the Cruella de Vil.
Exactly,
cigarette
yes.
holder.
Or she stole it from the Penguin. Either one.
My
Very
back
cool.
scratcher.
Hmm.
Okay, next. Sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, no,
but
no. That's
I'm filling in,
that's-
right?
that's kind of all I really wanted to cover. Unless you have some others.
Yeah, I have. Should I just fit my stuff
Go ahead.
in?
Yeah, go
Because
ahead.
Go for it. You
It
did
goes along with.
research goddess. Go for it.
Yes.
Okay. So Duggan, their alternate. What do you call it?
The guy who knocks stuff up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The cape
Um,
replacement.
Tom Chadbon. Chabon.
Chabon.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce it. He appears in another Doctor Who, Trial of a Crime Lord.
Okay.
He is also in Casino Royale, Wire in the Blood, and a big-time sci-fi favorite of mine, The 10th Kingdom, which I love. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, but it's fantastic. Nope. It was a TV movie, but it's like a cult favorite thing.
The one from 2000?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really great.
I've never seen this.
It's fantastic.
Okay.
Hey, it's got John Larroquette in it. Can't be all
It's got a lot of people
and
in
Ed
it.
O'Neill and Margaret Rutger Hauer. Yeah, it's got a ton of good
It's
people.
amazing. It's like 5 hours long or something. It's fantastic. I love it.
It's available on Netflix. I gotta get this.
I recommend it highly.
Okay. Good.
So,
and he was, he was a likable.
I love him in the
Yeah, I thought his character worked really well.
Yeah, he's like a really young and less bumbling. What's the dude's name in the coat? No. Like oh my God, the grandfather in A Princess Bride.
Mr. Falk.
Oh, thank you.
Kind of a Columbo.
Yeah, he's he's just really lovable, sort of, and always like bumbling into stuff, but a little less so and younger. So Fyodor Nikolai Kerensky is played by David Graham.
Okay.
He is. Let's see. That's the scientist.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I had something.
He has done voices. In a lot of other Doctor Who episodes, voices on the Thunderbirds, and I am
brain in the Thunderbirds.
Shocked that you didn't put this down, Charles, because he plays Big Brother in the Apple 1984 ad.
Oh, I did not know that.
Wow,
I didn't know that.
Oh, that's him. Oh, that's cool.
Yes, that's him.
That's why I didn't put it down. I didn't know that.
Okay,
that's cool.
Oh.
That's pretty interesting.
This is why you're the research goddess. This is why you're the research goddess. We pay homage.
Oh, very nice.
Now, Herman, Scarlioni's butler, who saves the day, he was played by Kevin Flood. He was in Tristan and Isolde. He plays a lot of different roles on British television, and I just put him down because, he is the guy who ultimately saves the day. But, he plays like a priest in Tristan and Isolde, and it's a pretty notable role in that movie, and it's pretty recent. And it's amazing how different he looks, but I just thought it was cool. And of course, art lover number one, Eleanor Braun. Wimbledon, AbFab, Alfie, Help.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah. And you mentioned, of course, Kara in Revelation of the Daleks. And then art lover 2, John Cleese, and I put, come on, John frickin' Cleese.
Yeah. We don't need to list John Cleese credits here. If we do, you're listening to the wrong show.
Right.
Truly.
It was kind of cool to have them, kind of show up there.
Now, did Jesse, since you're the one who saw this for the first time?
Yeah.
When you saw John Cleese on screen, did you go, "Oh my God, John Cleese," or did you not catch that until like a rewatch or something?
No, I caught it the first time. Now I didn't recognize her,
right?
But I recognized him and went, "Was that?" Well,
did you rewind?
Holy crap, that's John Cleese.
Yeah, I paid a little more attention. Yes, I did rewind, and then when I watched it the second time with the info text, they talked a little bit about it. And but I will tell you, I was so caught up into the story that the second time I watched it, they're saying, and these next actors were listed as blank blank. I don't remember what they were.
Another. I love that.
Yeah.
What a great credit.
I know.
And I was going, oh, I wonder who's going to show up. I don't remember anyone. And then when I went, damn, yes, of course. Because I really was caught up into the story the first time I watched this.
Right.
That's good.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
That's good.
It said that Cleese was actually in the studio already because they were editing Faulty Towers at the time.
Right.
And so that's why he happened to be there. And they're like, hey, you come in. Yep. So.
And I think it's funny
Faulty
that
Towers. What a great
I mean,
show.
he-
that
I
is.
love that show.
I love Faulty Towers.
Mhm.
Um,
Highly recommended. If
I
you
think
haven't
it's funny that, he was on the set because of Faulty Towers, and the guy who plays the professor, the, chemist, whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah, the
looks
science guy.
so much like Manuel.
Right.
Looks like Manuel. Yeah, he
From
does.
Faulty Towers.
That's funny.
Yeah, you expect John Cleese to kick him across the room.
Right. Don't talk about the Germans. Okay, I have a few little tidbits. Again, this was the first Doctor Who serial to feature footage filmed on location in a foreign country, and
All
I
right.
put France and of course primordial Earth.
Yes.
On
Um,
location.
They
Even though
talked
the year
about-
is way wrong.
just to show you that nothing changes, even though things change. In the info text, they talked about the show getting email saying, or not email, actual letters. Well, shouldn't they have been in, spacesuits because they couldn't have breathed at primordial Earth?
it's Earth.
And so,
But
it was so early.
The letter guy is right. At that time, with no vegetation, there would be no
Yeah.
atmosphere.
Right.
Well,
That's
come on.
The internet
You roll with it.
trolls.
It's Dr.
Yeah,
Yes.
How about this?
It's just exactly what Adam said.
Well, I would
It's
have
like,
thought the TARDIS would have
Projected a
projected an air
There
bubble.
you go.
it's
But
like
they said in the novelization, when he wrote a book based on it, he did have them wear spacesuits. But I
Still,
thought that was interesting,
hand wave,
because
hand wave.
you know
Come
it's kind of like
Scarface.
correcting
the
someone's
trolls were there in the 70s.
Come
They
on.
didn't
someone,
write
well,
letters.
kind of like correcting
that's what you gotta
someone's
pick at-
pronunciation of a character or something. Just
if that's what you got to pick at, then that's sad.
continue on, podcast
Okay.
mom.
Get a
Douglas
lecture.
Adams and Michael Hayes make cameo appearances in the story. Adams is seen as a man having a drink in a bar, while Hayes is the shifty-looking man wearing a cloth cap and carrying a metal case who exits the train at Beaucerie Metro Station after the Doctor and Romana.
Okay.
I didn't catch Adams. Now I got to go back one more time and watch it.
Watch
Yep.
it.
To see
It's
Adams.
a
I
very,
didn't-
very
Quick.
short little.
Well, the guy with the case, it's pretty darn quick.
No, that's Michael Hayes. He's
Yeah,
just a guy
he's-
sitting at a bar.
Yeah,
But he
Douglas
steps
Adams.
off that train. It's maybe 2 seconds. He's
Yeah.
So
City of Death had the highest average viewing figure of the Tom Baker era, with a rating of 1.5 million. It also has the all-time highest rating for an individual episode with 16.1 million. However, this rating is somewhat misleading as the story was transmitted at a time when ITV were on strike, and
Yes.
therefore it transmitted without significant opposition. I wrote this down, so I'm reading it, just so you know. But it's my words.
Yeah.
However, this still makes it the highest rated Doctor Who episode ever. It is also
ever?
ever.
Wow. Even
Ever.
against
Even
modern
now.
eras, against Christmas specials?
Well,
and stuff?
especially
Really?
now.
Yeah.
Because-
Yeah,
Because the audience is so
everything's
fragmented. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, ratings
Huh.
are much lower now.
Yep.
It is also very highly rated on fan polls, and again, like I said earlier, often cited as the best Doctor Who serial with which to introduce non-fans to the series.
Oh, nice.
During broadcast of the story, Marvel Comics UK branch launched Doctor Who Weekly, which continues to chronicle the Doctor Who franchise now as Doctor Who Magazine more than 30 years after it
Yep.
started.
Interesting.
I just got copy issue number 490 this weekend.
Yay.
Wow.
Subscribe to Doctor Who?
Actually, I don't subscribe to it, but I get them every month because I order.
Are they in your pull box? That's
No,
on top?
actually, I order them from a Doctor Who place called Who North America, Huna.com. And
Okay.
that's where I get all my Big Finish audios and
Oh, you don't buy
Doctor Who
Big Finish?
scarves and all kinds of stuff. So yeah,
Cool.
Oh,
Plug,
interesting.
plug.
Cool. Yes.
I like
yeah.
that.
So they owe me money now.
Yes.
Yeah, good luck with that.
So,
no.
anything else, Karen?
Yeah, I have a couple more.
I'll
okay,
take
if that's
I'll
okay.
take store credit.
Yeah, please. No.
Okay. Also, during broadcast of this story on 12th October, between parts 2 and 3, Douglas Adams' novel The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy was
Yay.
first published.
Whee!
Romana is seen wearing a traditional school uniform throughout the story.
Yowza.
Lalla Ward has stated that she did this because she hated the uniform as a child, so she wanted to make it seem slightly more cool to other children who hated having to wear it. Scaroth has a sonic knife, which he uses to remove the glass from in front of the Mona Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
The Doctor uses his sonic screwdriver, which he notes he last used against the Daleks on Skaro.
Mm-hmm.
The term Time Lady is used for the first time.
And she had a sonic screwdriver.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
this is the first time we've seen that, according to
In someone else's hands, yes.
Yep.
Right.
Due to Adams's influence, the script had his distinctive brand of humor and dialogue, and in my opinion, perfect for Tom Baker.
Right.
Yeah.
They complement each other so well.
Yeah.
They do.
Adams reused part of the story's plot for Dirk Gently's holistic detective agency.
I need to reread that book to see, because I read it, 15, 20 years ago.
Everything he
And-
writes is
Well,
gold.
what you need to
Right.
do, though, is watch Shada,
Yes.
the
Yes.
Lost Doctor Who episode, then read Dirk Gently's
Okay.
Holistic Detective.
Yeah, because that has more of a slant.
Yeah,
to it.
I am really upset. I had that VHS tape of the Shada that they released, and they've not done it on DVD.
No, they did
So
it.
now-
They did it on DVD.
Did they?
I have it on DVD.
Okay, well then I gotta find it. 'Cause
Yep.
I didn't think
Okay.
they
It's
had
probably on Amazon. You can find it there.
it. Okay,
Okay.
cool.
Good.
That's right. I get
All
my
right.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay. So, Ken and
I'm
Karen.
glad I got Charles on something.
Yes, yay.
I'm so
Did you
happy.
guys remember seeing this?
But you had
one
to
when
work
it
for
first
it.
Came out. I know it would have been through PBS, and it wouldn't have been right. Let me ask something. Maybe, how long of a delay was it from when the BBC showed something and you got it in the US?
Boy, that's hard.
Years.
That's hard to say. Yeah,
Okay.
79. I would still been at Asbury, and they were not showing them on the PBS in Lexington, Kentucky,
Okay.
anywhere close to real time.
No, I don't think they
Um,
started showing until like 1982, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would say I'm pretty sure I saw it in South Carolina when I was in the Navy at that point. So yeah, it would be it would
Okay.
be in the 80s.
It's definitely not like today where you can get it the same day as.
Yeah. Oh no.
And I don't.
Years. You had to wait years for episodes, and they would cycle through, and then you had to be like, okay, I hope they go to the next Doctor instead of going back to the beginning
And starting over
Right.
again,
and
which is
starting
what
with
they
Tom
did.
Bigger. Which
And just hopping around.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is what they did.
Mhm.
I remember I saw this episode after I had watched a lot of Monty Python.
Yeah.
So it was definitely after that. And it was after I saw all the Star Wars movies.
Okay.
So
All three,
I recognized
maybe,
that
so?
guy. So it was definitely
Hmm.
in the 80s.
So that would have to be after
Yeah.
1980 because Empire was in 1980.
Right.
Right.
And
So and I was old enough to remember watching this episode. And
okay.
if I saw it in 79,
Mhm.
I would have been just in like middle school, I guess.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, it still makes me old. Um,
No.
and I was just in high school, I guess, when I saw this. So this is when I was sewing my own Halloween costumes and going to parties when I was watching the Tom Baker episodes. So I was definitely like in my teens watching these episodes. Yes, I know, you guys. You're coughing at me, but
No.
No, I'm just
I'm not.
chuckling. I'm just
Okay.
chuckling. All
What?
you people.
I was
with
only
dark hair.
10 when this episode came out, so
Oh,
Okay, good.
yeah, I'm a
I-
senior in college.
I was
11. So-
I would have been a sophomore in college. So, what I think is interesting, and I'm kind of going back to something you guys are talking about, this is actually a fairly recent luxury that we get Doctor Who
yes.
at the
Oh, yeah,
same
absolutely.
time that
Mhm.
BBC gets it, right?
yes.
Because even a couple of seasons ago, there was a holiday, and BBC America didn't show a new episode, and they skipped, and so
Right.
we were getting it a week behind. But I guess in the original, right, you had to wait a while
It
before,
was a long
Years.
time,
Years.
yeah,
Yeah.
the Sci-Fi Channel decided
In
to
fact,
show it.
With
Sci-fi
there
sci-fi.
was
channel. There
no-
was no sci-fi channel.
No,
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
talking the modern era,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Oh,
Isn't that
oh,
how
yeah.
you guys originally saw it?
Well,
was
the modern era, yeah, you had to wait.
Well,
For sci-fi didn't really get it till like 2007.
okay?
And when
Yeah.
they started showing Christopher Eccleston, and even then they only showed they showed the first season, and then you had to wait huge long amounts of time for David Tennant.
Mhm.
and then
Right.
they shoot that, and then
But there
finally,
were other ways to get
yeah, there were other ways, which of course anybody, yeah, a little bit thing called the internet,
Yeah.
torrent.
yeah, download it. But yeah, I remember why. I mean, when this is before sci-fi, even began airing Christopher Eccleston, I remember downloading Rose,
Hmm.
streaming, and this was like on dial-up, so it took me hours to get this episode,
Yeah.
and I watched Rose in this little tiny box on my
Yeah.
monitor, and back in the day, and just just like, how awesome is it that I can like download these from the internet, because instead
Yeah.
of waiting for America to catch up, but thankfully, thanks to BBC America, then America caught up.
And you get that little
Yes,
buffering.
the hourglass,
Right.
yeah,
Oh, the hourglass.
Yeah.
the hourglass. This is
But
before the circle thing.
Yeah,
Still,
because it
There's
is.
something going around on the screen.
Yep.
Yeah, it is beautiful that we
Freaking-
do get that so quickly now.
It
You
is.
know, it is. And in fact, the 50th anniversary, right? They released it to make sure everyone got it
Live.
Yep.
Yeah,
In
which
fact,
was
you could go to a movie theater and watch it live with a group of fans,
Right.
which I thought was awesome. They should do that more often with like landmark things.
Episode,
Oh.
yeah.
Christmas episodes, maybe even would be cool.
Yeah, that would be.
We had a thing with fans. Parker and I went to
Yeah,
Jesse's house and watched
did.
it.
Ken and Parker came to my house for the 50th anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ken is one of those people that it's cut the cable. I guess you now.
Oh yeah.
you
I'm
now
pretty close
have-
to that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and we did. It was so much fun watching it together. That's awesome. So I've been really clear about how much I've loved this episode, but I want to talk about, as especially you three fans of the classic era, the Doctor's companion is a fellow,
Time
a
Lord.
Time Lord,
Yeah.
or Time Lady, as you call it. So what are
You
y'all's
can say
thoughts
Time
on-
Lord when you say she's a
Yeah.
fellow Time
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah. Do you say Gallifreyan?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah, why not? She's
Yep.
from Gallifrey. Why not?
Yeah. So I just want to make sure, there seems to be a.
Don't go
Wait.
there.
Hey, sorry.
Don't go there.
Um,
Down.
I liked her a lot.
Yeah.
Ramona, you mean?
Uh-oh, here we go.
Donna was wonderful.
Dive.
Hey, quit bringing back old memories.
I'm throwing it down.
It's
Really smart. She
Yeah, she's
seemed
great.
very strong-willed.
Mhm.
And I really liked her, and she rocked the straw hat.
Well, not just that, but she's
Yeah.
She's intelligent. I mean,
she's a match
she's
for the Doctor.
she's an equal, if not more so, because I think she's a little smarter than the Doctor.
Yeah,
But-
not since Zoe have we seen a
Right.
companion that can stand toe to toe with the Doctor and be right there. I think it's
Right.
Parker and I are watching, as you know, all the episodes in order, and we're in the middle of the Pertwee era, and right now his companion is Joe.
Joe, yeah.
And Joe is just absolutely nothing but eye candy. She
Right.
contributes nothing ever except she's nice to look at.
Well, she's charming.
Yeah,
And it's-
Sure.
she's friendly. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
And
she
she's
is no help ever.
She's a conduit for the Doctor to
Right.
Yeah,
to
Even-
relate to.
Stuff, right?
Exposition, yeah.
even
Yeah.
Sarah Jane, who it comes next, doesn't.
Sarah
she's
Jane
not
was
nearly as smart, but she contributes more and helps the Doctor more. She's more useful, I guess you would
Yes.
say.
Yeah.
Joe is just there for someone to say something so that the Doctor could go, that's just
What did that mean?
enough to
Yep.
work.
Right.
or to hand him coffee or something.
Yeah, exactly. There's that really bad sexist sign.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's-
I think one of the
it's the 70s. So
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the 70s. What are you
keep
going
it in context.
Exactly. I was really speaking though of keeping it in context. As I was watching this episode, it struck me how similar Tom Baker's Doctor was to. That's great, Ken. Now you have the senior moment.
It's right. It happened to me earlier.
Not Tennant. After Tennant is
Matt Smith.
Matt
Matt
Smith.
Smith.
Yes.
Matt Smith's Doctor.
Yes.
You could take
Humorous.
this.
Yeah.
You could take this episode,
Right.
and Matt Smith could play this Doctor
Oh, totally.
perfectly, word
Totally.
for word. It would flow just the same.
It's
They're
I
just-
see that.
Yeah,
It's the snappiness, the
Mhm.
humor, the thinking on one's feet,
Yep.
the quickness. I mean, very much alike.
All you have to do is substitute the 11th Doctor and River Song for the 4th Doctor and Romana, and you've got a Matt Smith episode.
Yeah.
It really is true. And the other thing I was going to say about this episode that struck me as I was watching it, the first time I'm just watching it through, and I probably haven't seen this episode in like 25 years or so. And as I'm watching it, I'm thinking, you know, the credits said Agnew was the writer, but boy, this dialogue sure sounds like Douglas Adams. I mean, they're walking into the Louvre, and that discussion where Romana's listing off other art museums. You mean not even? It sounds just like a line out of Hitchhikers.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah, exactly. There's a reason for that. But as I'm watching it, I didn't realize that the first time that he had such a strong hand in it. I knew that later on he does, but I'm just like, wow, that's really Douglas Adams-y.
This is one that when I feel like watching a Tom Baker episode, I go to on my media drive and I'm like, press play.
Yeah.
I've seen it within the last 5 years because I dig this serial. This one is so great.
So this is your go-to episode.
This is like, if I feel like watching a classic episode, I watch this one. I mean, I don't know that there's one I enjoy more than this one.
So is there any background on why they decided to go with a fellow Time Lord as the companion? Now, I know this is one of the things when Ken was prophesizing converting me over to Doctor Who, he talked about, and he had one of his Time Lords just felt like regenerating because she wanted to look different, so I know this is a second actress, but do we know why they decided? Because I think this is a really good idea, and it certainly kept me out, and then I'll let you guys talk. It certainly kept the Doctor as the main hero, but it does seem like there are more peers, and there was equal kind of, if not necessary, screen time. They were holding their own.
The first Romana was sent to the Doctor by the Time Lords to kind of keep him in line for a job, and I don't remember what that job is now because I haven't been back there, but I remember specifically that she was sent, and she wasn't when she initially appears. When she initially appears, she's not nearly as warm towards the Doctor. She's actually kind of bossy and kind of confrontational and
little snooty,
trying to control him and move him in a certain direction. And it's only over the course of time that she really kind of warms to the Doctor and realizes, oh wait, there really is actually a method to his madness, and then when that whatever that job is, and I don't remember what it was, she decides to stay of her own free will just because she kind of gets the bug of, this traveling thing is pretty cool, which you would think that more Gallifreyans would do. It seems funny to me that so few Time Lords, steal their TARDISes and leave and go exploring.
They might be. We just don't see them.
Well, they had the Master, the Ronnie. So we've had plenty.
Those are,
Plus,
the monk.
they might be living among
that
us.
monk.
Yes.
That's right. They might be.
But Romana's whole deal. I mean, she actually says this in this episode where she's only 150 years old.
125, actually.
So that's something around that.
Well, she said 140 in another episode.
Yeah, okay. It's a little nebulous, but it's all wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
But I mean, if you were over 100 years old, you might lose track.
Yeah, maybe she want to shave off some of those years, but
sure.
But anyway, the Doctor is older. He's more experienced. He's been out there in the cosmos. Romana is introduced as this stuffy, like right out of she's probably an overachiever at the academy on Gallifrey.
Right.
And probably all our teachers probably hate her. So they
what is the first
they give her this mission
shows up in
the Ribos operation, I think.
Ribos? So that's in amongst the key of time?
Hello.
Hey.
Are we?
Speaking of, the clock fell. I guess it wanted.
Wow, that's weird.
Yes, it was.
Yikes.
Go continue.
Okay.
So it's
So
in
we
amongst
have
the Key of Time
flying
episode.
here
Yeah.
during the podcast. That's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, she starts off being like during the Key to Time season,
Okay.
and she's there to help the Doctor find the key to the segments
Put together
to
the
the key.
T. It's, yeah.
Right. So as you said, she starts off very, like cold, and then she warms up after traveling with the Doctor. So she's kind of like her mentor, but then also she's his peer as well, because she's as smart, if not smarter than him. She's perfectly capable of building her own sonic screwdriver and whatnot, and using it. And she was basically River Song before there was River Song.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
and shows that it's perfectly okay to have a companion who can do just as much as the Doctor.
Right.
It suddenly occurs to me that the sonic screwdriver is like a lightsaber. It suddenly becomes the thing that you make to show that you've actually become. When you become a Jedi,
Yes.
you can make your own lightsaber. When you become a Time Lord, you can make your own sonic screwdriver, I guess. It's the
Yeah.
same sort of thing.
It's
I'll
like a
buy
rite of
that.
passage.
Sure.
Yeah. And even the Master has one, but he makes it bad and awful. Yeah, it's a compressor, the flesh compressor.
It's like the blue one.
The tissue
Yeah.
compression eliminator.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. See, I'm going through the Pertwees where the Master's in like every episode. So yeah,
And
he's right there.
I just watched last night The Girl Who Waited, and Amy made the she didn't call it a sonic screwdriver. She later admitted that, right? It was a sonic probe or something.
Yeah.
So very nice.
Probe.
Yeah, and so
Anyhow.
I can understand why people
Oh yeah.
current fans want both either her or the Ronnie to come back, right?
Yeah.
In this modern era.
I would
Well,
love.
when you see how Romana leaves at the end, it really is open that she could come back at any time.
Sure.
Yeah.
She stays with a version of K9 in E-Space, and they go off and do their thing, so she could get back in.
How much would you guys love to see an updated K9?
Oh, totally.
That would be just awesome if the two
Right?
of them then show up. That would be a great season finale cliffhanger thing. Is that there's other Romano and this other K9 show up and go.
As
Maisie
long
Williams.
as they-
Maisie Williams. No.
Maisie Williams
Yeah,
would be
maybe.
fantastic.
That would be
Yeah.
so cool.
Oh, she
Yeah.
was
That's
great.
that's just hoping. That's
Yeah,
right.
you're
It would
just
have to
dreaming
be
now.
the right
Charlotte.
actress, and she would get the Karen stamp of approval.
Yep.
Oh, that would
Yes,
just be
absolutely.
Definitely.
so cool. Yeah,
That would be
so
cool.
And a
cool.
nice
once again,
updated
looking younger
sleek
again.
Yeah.
K9.
Mm-hmm.
God, that would be.
You know,
great.
Oh, I've made some changes, Doctor.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
I have my little K9 right here.
K9.
There
So
it
we've
is.
already talked a little bit about the Countess and the Count, but I love the smoothness of them and how they just seem to be, slaving to boner.
I used to say that too. Chicken deboner.
Yeah. They, just the
Oh, darling, I need my scotch. Could you
Yes,
please get me
yes.
2
And-
fingers worth?
They're very
Um,
suave. Rico
they-
Suave.
Yeah.
yes,
they are
he is.
Bad guys.
Suave
And and
Shall we
and-
go to the ball?
Yes, and Scaroth, is that how they're saying it?
Yep. Scaroth
Okay.
of the Jaggeroth.
Yeah,
the Jaggeroth.
and I think it's actually interesting that from his perspective, he's just trying to correct a mistake, right? The
Yeah,
human
from
race-
his perspective.
yeah.
His
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
kind of
His mistake. Well,
Yeah.
that really, because
Yeah.
he said I shouldn't do this, and whoever's yelling at him is
Right,
like,
he
"No,
knows-
you got to do it anyway." Couldn't
Right.
you just wait and kind of fix that impulse engine? Maybe.
Right.
You guys are a great race.
He-
Maybe you should have done that. Not been such a damn hurry. It's not like anything's going on there.
I
No one's
kind of look
bombing
at him
or shooting at you.
as like a Doctor Who Son of Sam, where like the dog's talking to him about, you need to do this, you need to
Yeah,
fix
exactly.
everything,
Yeah.
because he's getting all these voices in his head.
and it's like,
talking to him.
dude, 2 wrongs don't make a right, dude. So,
Right.
yeah.
It's not.
I have to save my species. Help me.
Well, to be fair, he is fragmented across time, so maybe
Right.
he's not in the best frame of mind.
He's not.
Yeah,
he's
he's
crazy.
a little.
But then
He's a little
again,
bug.
Splinter.
Son of Sam, again with the analogy,
Yep.
he wasn't
Yep.
exactly all there. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, he was
See,
doing.
he had that when his fragments kind of bridged the gap. I mean, I think that's a very good way to look at his character when you could see him talking to all. And I loved how they put all those characters
Yeah,
together.
they superimposed them all. That was cool.
Yeah, how they put him in makeup just for that one little
Little thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
they made
they
him
put him in,
Egyptian
like,
and-
Egyptian and
Yeah.
Roman and like some other little. And
There was
just
supposed
for
to
a
be a
little.
Neanderthal, the info thing said, but I looked and
No, there
looked.
was one. He
Was
looked
it?
like he had Jesus hair, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what it said. I couldn't see it.
Yeah. He had really long, and they put him in probably 2 hours worth of makeup just for a little, like,
Yeah, that little
barely
bitty-
there scene.
Well, to be fair, it might have been stage makeup, so it might have been a little rushed. I'm guessing.
Oh, I'm sure it was,
You
but
know,
still,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, so
Dark
20
Knight.
minutes
Yeah,
worth.
yeah.
Of,
So he was fragmented across time long before Clara Oswald made it cool.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's
Right.
true, yeah.
I
He
and
handled
how
it
did you like
so-
the area rug mask?
Yeah,
with the
Yeah.
one eye?
I want to
Oh.
know how a mask like can change a one-eyed
One
alien
eye.
into a
Yeah,
a guy with two working eyeballs. How does
Yeah.
that happen?
There's a little optic thing inside that
Yep.
mask, right? Where he
Yeah,
plays
maybe
it that splits it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
and
What am I
you know
doing?
he's
Smart
obviously they've been married for a while, so I assume there's been at least hugs and kisses exchanged.
Of course.
Among others.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that was
Hey
interesting.
now.
The
I,
infotext made a deal about the fact that when the scientist touches his face when he's knocked out and on the floor, he notices that his skin is wrong. But the
Yeah.
woman doesn't notice that the skin is
Yeah.
wrong, and she's like kissing him and making out with him.
Mm.
Or
How handy
maybe
all
they
his
just have
equipment's
a
the
marriage
same.
of convenience because
Yeah.
That
he's
could be.
mentioned that he wants all this money, and maybe he said to her, well, we can marry and you'll have some money, and she does mention that many times.
And
Yeah,
she
yeah.
does,
Episode.
and he talks about that he gives her money
A
and
couple of fur
then
coats and you're good.
yeah, and a little bit experiences. He calls, kind of a little bit of a walk on the wild side, and that's enough.
Mm.
Right.
I was actually sad when she died. I found a little, I kind
But
of
she's pretty.
bugged a little.
Oh,
well,
come
I
on.
just thought she was an
Probably.
interesting character, and
Well, she's interesting. Yes, I'll give you that.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
I didn't initially. I didn't assume she was dead. I just assumed she was passed out. There's.
Yeah, it's nebulous.
Mhm.
Yeah, because the infotext makes it clear that she's dead, but I'm like, she falls over. Well, lots of people fall over and lay there in this show, and then you never come back to them. It doesn't mean they're dead
It's
necessarily.
Doctor Who. She's probably dead.
Yeah.
and the reason I thought she was is because he said, this was going to happen anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, she's
so
gonna
it's good.
die because he's
Yeah.
gonna destroy
But they
everything.
break a Ming vase.
That's all right.
yes.
Doctor can go back and get another one.
That's
It's
true.
Yes.
No big deal.
Well,
And-
not really, because he says it's the second dynasty Ming vase, and there's no such thing as the second Ming
I know.
dynasty. So that would be tough. Yeah, another wavy.
It is a pretty interesting scheme
Wait.
that, with this fractured self, well, let's just have good old Leo, paint 7 of the Mona Lisas.
That's
A brilliant plan, really.
That's a great idea.
It's a long range plan.
It
Yeah.
is a
Really long-range plan.
view. Yep. That's
But-
taking a long view.
Probably could have come up with something a little quicker.
But
Any
from his
catch.
perspective,
Now, I have
since
to ask you a
fracture-
question.
Hold on, Karen.
Okay.
From their perspective, it is instantaneous because when his fractured person goes to Gutenberg, and has them print another Bible and he puts it in the wall, this is kind of like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, right? He opens the wall and there it is.
Yep.
So it's
Yeah.
instantaneous for him. Go ahead, Karen.
Now, he goes back in time to meet Leonardo, right?
The doctor does, but
Yeah.
the
No,
fractured.
No, the
the
fracture.
fractured guy doesn't.
He's already there. Part
Yeah.
of it,
Already there.
How does
One
he
of
know
his-
that Leonardo's painting is going to be worth so much?
because he's communicating with his presence.
with
day
his
self.
Okay.
stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
So he's been fractured all through time.
Yeah, they can all talk to each other.
Okay.
Simultaneously. Yep.
It's,
I was just making sure
They're
because
linked-
that was something that I've always wondered
they're
about.
they're using LinkedIn. No,
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're Skyping with each other.
exactly.
Yes, they are.
You have to take kind of a funny view of time that it all happens all at once. And God,
No,
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. I was hoping that was the case.
Yeah.
Because it didn't look like he had the ability to travel anywhere in time. I mean, it looked like they were trying to develop that for him, right?
Yeah.
But that was his.
Well, remember,
Deal.
Tancredi, he has a kind of a seizure because he's hearing his other selves.
Right,
Yep.
right,
So they can communicate to each other.
right. Well, sort of.
Yeah, sort of.
But then it makes him very uncomfortable too.
Yeah,
So
Well, it makes him.
You know,
Yeah,
that's
he can't
it's overload.
quiet them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's overload. Exactly.
the voices.
Like, I assume that's all the time, right? Like when the fractured cells try to talk across time zones, the other, how many there are, 7 or 8.
Oh,
Hear
yeah,
them.
12. Yeah.
And then one's always hogging the conversation.
Exactly. Enough already.
Shut
Kind of like
up.
this.
No, we're all kind of doing it ourselves.
I was wondering.
One of the things I've noticed as I'm going through BBC America's reshowing episodes, and I'm becoming more appreciative of Donna as a companion, because in the first time through her reign as a companion, I was not impressed at all, and watching it a second time,
Jesse, I love you being a newbie. I loved it on Farscape, and now I love it on Doctor Who.
because you're, and I've
He's
said this
adorable,
before, and I
isn't he?
apologize. You develop this, your palate, you enjoy more of the Doctor, but one of the
Okay.
things that Russell T Davies, I think, did a great job of is he would bring characters back, you
Mhm.
know, often. So
Let
I
you
guess
get to see a little bit more of the character each
Right.
time he brings them
Yeah.
back, which I
Mark
love.
came back, you know, and the thing. So we wouldn't get Dugan again, and so this is something new, correct? The classic Who, like once you lost a companion moved on. Is it very rare when you would have a companion come back and visit with a different Doctor, or
It
even that same-
happened.
You had the Brigadier. You had the Brigadier
the
all the
Brigadier
time.
is a reoccurring,
That's
yeah.
the exception that proves the rule, right? I mean, is
And-
there any others?
Yeah.
Sergeant Benton travels in the TARDIS once or twice, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah,
but
it does. But
I
It
can't think of
wasn't
any other.
often.
I have not a
Like-
real companion.
you had
I'm
during
gone.
the Patrick Troughton era, you had Professor Travers, who showed up in like 2 stories,
Okay.
and then I want to say, let's see. I mean, it is rare. I will definitely
Okay.
give you that.
Well,
it's rare,
here's-
but it does happen.
And it seems like-
the actress who is playing Romana now
Yeah.
is in an earlier episode.
Yeah.
And in
Mhm.
fact, when she regenerates, she says, "Yeah, I really like the way she looks." So,
Okay.
ta-da!
Right.
So
Yeah.
she comes back looking like a previous character, but she wasn't a companion.
Okay. All right.
Right.
That's all
She
I
just
think
liked
of.
how that girl looked.
And then, of course, you had the Master, would show up every so
Yeah,
that's-
often,
sure.
and so yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, but that's
okay.
a whole different thing.
yeah, I know.
That's
That's a recurring.
That's a
villain.
big bad.
That's a
yeah.
recurring villain.
That's like having the
Yeah,
Cybermen.
Daleks,
You know.
Cybermen.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of interesting that as I'm watching this, Russell T Davies, you know, Rose has left as a character, but she's come back, and we see Captain Jack a few times, and we see Sarah Jane Smith, and you know, it is a
Do you
world.
count Captain Jack as a companion?
I do.
Yeah.
Do
Do
you
you?
count him as a
Oh yeah,
companion?
I do
would
because
count-
he's there from the Empty Child all the way through Parting of the Ways. That's 5 stories right there.
Okay.
So yeah,
okay.
and he
Huh.
only leaves because the Doctor leaves him behind.
Yeah.
And then
And
when
then he comes back with the other companions.
and when he's, you know, Tennant asks him, you know, Tennant's doctor asks him to go, and he goes, "No, I really like my team, and I need to stay on that." So,
Okay.
and I guess point is, I would have liked the Columbo-like character to return. I thought he was
Duggan.
Yeah,
fun.
Dugan-
Yeah.
Dugan,
Yeah,
does.
Dugan would have been
Yeah.
great to
He's
to be back.
great.
Yeah.
And I am
Duggan.
kind of surprised they
Duggan,
didn't.
yeah.
But
He's
in-
one of my favorite characters. I love how they make the joke throughout the episode. Why do you hit people so often? You know, you
Yes.
got to stop doing that. And then it actually kind of saves the day in the end.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
know.
the most important
punch
punch
in
in the
history.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Right. It's so funny through the whole.
Yeah.
It's like a running gag through the whole episode. And then I love that. You're always breaking glass. You're always breaking glass. You should
Yeah.
really
Team up with a glasser.
right, exactly. And then he breaks that bottle of wine
Yep.
on the thing. I mean,
Yeah.
just to prove,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, she had
That's his
just
thing.
made that remark
That's his thing.
that, you know,
Yep.
you should
Yeah.
team up with this. And then he goes, blam, and he breaks the glass and he pours her some wine. And it's very, very subtle. But if you notice when she drinks it and then she goes, like she's taking a little bit of glass out of her mouth. It's
Well,
so
evidently
subtle.
she cut her mouth. According to the info text,
Did she really?
She cut her mouth on that scene. Yeah.
Ooh.
Did she? Well, maybe
that's what it
that's why
said.
she does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
why
it is
that's why she pulls
so-
it out.
Subtle.
Yeah.
So she's a professional.
Well, she's
Yeah.
But
really
it's
a
like-
professional. There's
does-
another scene I really loved the text that they were talking about where they had to shoot it a second time because Tom Baker leaned forward to talk to the other guy and
Right.
blocked Romana. And so in the second take, Romana actually leans over to make sure that Tom Baker can't block
Can't
her.
block her.
To make it so they don't have to do a third
So
take. from the
great.
shot.
Nice.
Yeah, it's just like wonderful.
So great.
That's why the info texts are great. Those little things are just
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting. The two actors end up getting married. It isn't
Mhm.
a long marriage, but they're, according to what I was reading, and there's a lot of affection there, and it was just
Yeah.
a two-career family not making it work. So, what have we missed? What else in the episode do we need to talk about?
I gave you all my tidbits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see.
There's so many fun little things in this. I mean,
It is.
Yeah, there are.
And I, a lot of times, of course, because it's 4 parts, they replay the ending of at the beginning of the next episode.
mhm.
But unlike some of the classic Who, I did not feel like this one dragged whatsoever. I think it had
No.
good pacing. The story moved along.
Even when
do I
they're
win?
running,
Do I win the bet?
You do.
Okay, why you thought I would say that?
Oh, we
Yep.
know we know you'd say that. That's why
Okay.
we talked
even
about this.
though they
talked
spend
about
a
this
certain
yesterday.
number of minutes running down streets that are really
Yes.
pointless, but are like establishing shots. It's weird that they use
Yeah.
running in the street. The
Charles
first time I
said it
watched it, my
yesterday.
first thought was, could they not take an exit off of the subway that put them closer to this cafe?
Well, and then when
Closest stop is halfway
when
across
Dugan-
town.
Right.
yeah,
Like, it's
when
just
Dugan is
moving
following
parts.
them, right? They just keep going. It's like
Maybe they're
Uh,
trying to confuse him.
right. So so I'm that obvious,
Jesse.
Charles and Karen. What did you guys say?
Well, it's just the only reason I made this bet with Karen yesterday during the Phantom Zone was that
It was off air.
it was off air. It was off air, but we were talking about is that every time we review a classic story, Jesse,
Yeah.
you always have to comment on the pacing compared to the modern
and
era.
it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, but you do it every time. So I was just waiting for it. It's just like
Yeah.
the shake a drink moment.
I was waiting for it too. I was like,
And I told
"Are you
Karen,
gonna do it in this sentence."
And I told Karen, I will not prod him. I will not set him up, and he'll do it. Trust me. And sure
And-
enough, he did.
One
I
of
was,
the
I
things.
was a little nervous because you were
Yes.
taking a little while to do it, but you did it, and that was awesome.
Well, one of the
But-
things I thought maybe is because this one is so quick
yes.
and snappy, is that you might not do it. So
Well, but if you notice,
Mhm.
I complimented this while talking about the pacing
Right,
problems.
you
of
did.
the
You did.
episodes,
you did. You said the pacing was right on.
Right.
Yes,
Good,
and,
you know,
and,
modern.
and I
epic-
think
so.
I think I bring that up because it is a good point. Because of people who are listening to this and then trying to, I was at a convention and they talked about enjoying classic Who, and I bring that up because you have to kind of change how you watch, and so and
If you're
and
not
so-
used to watching old shows from the 60s
yeah,
and
You need to
earlier,
be a little more
absolutely.
tolerant.
yeah, and a little patient, and so yeah, it was very good.
But this one you don't.
No,
Yeah.
this one is really, really well done.
Nope. You can
So-
just sit down and watch this one, and
It's like
you're good.
watching an old movie on Turner
Yes.
Classic Movies or something.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is. It is.
Well, watch
Although,
any
you
of
know
the old
what?
shows from
Really-
the
well.
60s or early 70s.
I
You watch like the time tunnel that I gave you, Jesse, or like the Man from U.N.C.L.E. or the old Avengers.
Yeah.
Old Avengers had that problem too, especially the black and white ones. It's like, so Parker and I see that a lot as we're watching them all in order, is that the pacing is picking up as you go, as time moves forward, that
Right.
catches up. And it's just, in the mid 60s,
Although
it was a more relaxed time.
I wouldn't hesitate to give this to someone and not give them a caveat. Just give it to him and say, just watch this.
Yeah,
You'll be
this
fine.
one's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good example.
I mean, there are shows from like the 2000s that I'd have to say to people, "Oh, this doesn't hold up." You know
Right.
No, I
yeah.
got a library.
Birds of Prey, maybe.
what?
Birds of Prey, perhaps.
Yes, Birds of Prey. There are episodes of Birds of Prey
From 2002.
that don't hold up,
Mhm.
whereas this one, I honestly,
Yeah.
I would say this holds up better than
Yeah.
something
Or
from
Cleopatra 2000. You know, the Cleopatra 2000 had a lot of
Yes.
really long things in it. For those of you who are real completists.
And that is a huge compliment to this show.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Anything else we need to bring up before we move to favorite lines and rating the episode?
Nah, I think we're good.
I want to
Okay.
X-ray the Mona Lisa now.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And I do think it's
This is a
interesting
fake.
where
That
he
would be great.
he says, "How can it be a fake when Leonardo
Go painted it.
Painted it.
Yeah,
painted
it's
it?
a-
Yeah.
Because you
fine
wrote this
point.
is a fake on the back." Yeah, but it's all
In felt tip.
yes.
felt tip.
And when she says,
Why does the
"What if
doctor
they
have a felt
X-ray it?" and he says, "Well, it serves them right."
There is an arrogance to the doctor in this that is very familiar to those of us who learned of the doctor in the modern era.
But
Yep.
Tom Baker's more lackadaisical
Yes.
Yeah.
in his
But it is-
arrogance
yes, it is.
than almost. I mean, there are some doctors that are almost mean in their arrogance.
Hmm.
Yes.
But
Not-
Tom Baker
This-
isn't like that. I mean,
Yeah.
he doesn't like kill people and not care about it.
Yeah. No.
He's
Tom
just a little more
Baker is
wacky about it.
wacky.
no matter what old Darth says. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I loved watching him run through Paris, and I kept watching to see, how far his scarf
Yeah,
dragged
the scarf
right.
drags
around.
the ground. I
Yeah.
did that too. And I noticed a couple of times that
Everybody
the scarf was actually like
Yeah.
dragging the ground. Oh my God.
Yeah.
How
And I-
many
and
people
I-
do that?
Romanus almost steps on it a couple of
Yeah,
times.
I know.
Several times. He
The-
reached
It's
out and
good
pulled
that
his
everyone
hand a lot
does
more
that.
often
I'm
than I
so glad.
And the weather looked like more in line with him having the coat and the
Yep, it looked
the
perfect
thing.
for that.
And
They
I
said
also
that it was
it's
the coldest time.
yeah.
It's when they were up in the Eiffel Tower. It snowed that day
Hmm
on May the 2nd.
Now I
Yeah.
have a question. Was this a common shtick that the doctor would reach into his coat and pull out anything he needed?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
He still does
Absolutely.
it. Tennant does it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tennant does
Yeah.
it.
I love that it's a Polaroid camera,
yeah.
which is going like,
And then
okay,
he shows the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look.
Well,
they,
Polaroid,
like, slam.
Polaroid cameras were very mainstream in 1979.
yes, I know, but I'm just saying he knows he's all of space and time.
Yeah.
He would. I guess he could have gotten a digital photo and showed him in the little black box. If
Well,
it was-
They couldn't imagine it then.
no, absolutely.
So-
Oh, yeah.
And what else did he pull from?
It's like Star Trek,
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. He pulled something else that I thought was
a
funny.
selfie stick.
I mean, it wasn't duct tape, but it was something else that he like. Oh, here. So okay.
Pulls out his iPad, starts typing
yeah.
away.
So Karen, you first. Favorite line, and if you don't have one, it's okay.
Man. Well, I did like that line at the end where he says it serves them right if they X-ray it. I mean, I just dig that line very much.
Yes, absolutely.
It shows it's a very quintessential Tom Baker line where he just tosses off. Well, it serves them right.
Right.
Yes.
And it's a really good Douglas Adams line as well. I mean, it's kind of a great pairing. And I also love the dialogue between John Cleese and
Eleanor Braun.
Eleanor Braun.
Right.
I mean, that dialogue between the two of them, the pretentiousness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Was
Look at the line and the form.
yes.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
so
no,
great.
And when it disappears, they aren't even phased. They're just like
No, they're like, oh.
Oh.
I expected them to say, oh, great performance art, except for there wasn't such a thing as
Yeah.
performance art back then. So,
Well, there
I
was,
mean-
but they didn't call it that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely right.
so I'm assuming they thought it was performance art.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
No,
Just all that
All right.
pretentious art critic nonsense.
right,
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
all
So
right.
I love that little scene. That was fantastic.
Yes.
It is.
Ken.
Okay, so my favorite line also takes place at the end with on the Eiffel Tower, where Dugan goes, "So where are you two from?" And the doctor's response is a perfect Douglas Adams response. That the best way to find out where you come from is to find out where you're going and then work backwards. And so Dugan goes, "Where are you going?" "I don't know." It's just perfect.
Yeah,
and
that's
that's just so
fantastic.
Douglas Adams, right?
Yeah,
And
I love
thank you for
that.
taking my line.
Oh,
Charles.
no.
No, that's okay.
No,
I have a
Listen,
backup. I'm crossing
kinda
my
makes-
finger that Charles didn't
Which,
pick it.
Jesse, why don't you go first so I don't steal your line this time?
It kind of makes Dugan go,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Jesse, go ahead and go.
I don't know if you noticed, but he was pointing a gun at me. Anyone in my employ who behaved like that, I'd sack him on the
Sack it in a
spot.
moment.
Right.
I just love that.
Yeah, when he's sitting in the little cafe
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
and they've
like
all been taken hostage.
and the whole idea of the doctor, like having an employee and then
Yeah. In my employ.
fire him, but I'd sack him on the spot. I just love that.
Yeah, I love that. The Duggan thinks that he's set up the whole thing in order to get out of being in trouble. It's great.
Exactly.
Clearly, he's never heard of Occam's razor. Clearly.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, Charles.
It's Douglas Adams, my all-time favorite author. So I could not write just one line down.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
good.
There's just so many great one-liners. The first one I've got is, "You're a beautiful woman, probably."
That one's good.
That backhanded compliment is just
Yeah.
delivered so brilliantly by Tom Baker. And then, "I say, what a wonderful butler. He's so violent."
That's right. He's so
That's very
violent.
Yes.
And it turns out at
and
the
then-
end,
Yeah.
It's a Louis the 14th Chateau. Hasn't it held up well?
yeah. So great.
And then,
And
when he's about to get tortured with the thumb screws, and then he says, "If there's one thing I can't stand, it's being tortured by someone with cold hands."
I also like
That's
the
cool
around
time.
the waters. Make them doubles.
Yeah.
Round of waters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just a little really offhand comment as he's walking.
Right.
A round of waters make them doubles.
Another
it's just
thing was great
And
was
someone pays for those waters. It's in France, and somebody
Yeah.
lays down money for the for the waters.
I also like the they wouldn't be foolish enough to go back to the chateau. Hey,
Mhm.
doctor, we're going back to the
That's
chateau.
Yeah.
Yeah, his look of just for crying out, it's
really?
just perfect at that
Yeah.
spot.
And then the other one, the last line I had written down was when he's trying to hail a taxi there at the climactic,
Oh, yeah.
and he's like, "Is no one interested in history?"
There's also the line about not now. I'm trying to save the human race or something.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yes.
To
Yeah.
that nice, to that
Wonderful.
nice
Like just
lady.
Earthlings cannot comprehend how important it is to bend to his will.
Yes.
Come on, people.
So
Well, that poor lady,
okay.
he's already elbowed her in the head once.
Right.
He can't-
See, Douglas Adams was writing Joss Whedon's dialogue before Joss
Yes.
Whedon.
That's
Yeah.
very true.
He Joss had to have
Been
Channel,
influenced.
it's
No.
chan-
Been
it's
influenced.
chan-
Well, he
yeah.
probably
Vor-
read a lot.
voraciously read it.
He probably read the Hitchhiker's books over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, yes, he has.
absolutely.
And we
So
know he's a
Karen-
Doctor Who fan, so he probably picked up a lot from this too.
Hmm.
Karen, what's your rating?
10. This was
Uh,
a 10 out of 10. 10 straw hats in honor of you, Jesse.
Oh,
Okay,
nice.
very nice.
Ken?
And
Okay, I'm going to go 9.5 only because I don't believe in giving 10s. 9.5 chicken to eggs to skeletons
ooh, nice.
to chickens.
Chickens to eggs.
Uh-huh.
Nice. Really, this isn't a 10? I mean, this is, I think this is pretty much a perfect
It's-
episode.
It's
In the Navy, we were taught that you never give 5.0 reviews. There's no such thing as walking on water. And
Oh,
so
all right.
I don't give 10. There's never a perfect. You can get very, very, very close, but
Okay.
there's no such thing.
Okay,
as perfect.
I'll give a 9.9999999 repeating,
repeating. Yeah.
which is essentially a 10.
Yeah.
There's no
Remember,
difference between a 9.9.
Well, there's that 0.00000.
No. No, do you not know maths?
Charles.
It's the same number. Go ahead. Charles.
Well, I give this one just 9.
Mm.
Yeah. It's
He's meaner than me. Oh!
I
The
love
people-
I love
the
this
people
story.
who-
I love this story, but it's not the best story.
Okay.
Yeah, Contra.
Nice.
I give this one 9 out of 10 copies of the Mona Lisa.
Nice. Well,
Gutenberg,
that's only
sell a
7.
Gutenberg Bible discreetly.
Well, there's 2 more that Leonardo painted that didn't,
Okay.
Yeah.
hit the market.
They didn't make it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was going to give it 9, but after listening to this discussion, I'm moving it up to 10, and I'm giving it 10 cigarette holders.
Very
Oh, I want to
So-
ask Charles before we quit.
Yes.
If this isn't the penultimate Tom Baker episode, which one do you think is?
Good question. Well, I mean,
Damn,
as
I
far
put him on the spot here.
yeah, I mean, there are other episodes that I like, but I would say Genesis of the Daleks is a better
Okay.
story than City of Death.
Okay.
That is a good story. There's no doubt about
Good
that.
story.
I would go
This
with
one's just more fun.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah, and
just because Genesis is much more dramatic. It's got that huge ethical dilemma
yeah, it's got the big
that I-
philosophical question
that
in
I
it.
rated higher than City of Death. But that's
Okay.
not to mean I don't like City of Death. I give it
No,
a
you gave it a 9. Yeah, that's
That's an
Yeah,
A
yeah.
minus. That's an A minus.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
That's a,
So how about reverse the polarity, Charles? What do you have for us?
gonna reverse the polarity this time,
Yes.
obviously, because we're going forward.
And Tom Baker says reverse the polarity in this episode,
Yes.
and I
It's
smiled.
actually the first time that he says reverse the no, it's not.
No,
They-
John Pertwee
Oh,
says
no.
it.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
that's
The
what it
first time
said.
for the first time, but
That's what
They
he said.
invent it for Pertwee to help him with the
Yeah, the
dialogue. Yeah.
so
yeah.
I had a smile almost as big as Eccleston's smile when he said that. And when I watched the episode the second time, I smiled just as big. I just love hearing a different doctor say that. So go ahead,
Oh,
Charles.
and he just throws the switch. He just walks over and literally throws a switch to reverse the polarity. It's just like,
Right.
Yep.
ta-da!
I reversed it. See,
I reversed it.
It was down, and I pushed it up.
Up.
It's
That's right.
reversed.
Yeah, but then the bad guy comes in and has this whole set of schematics to reverse it.
Yeah, exactly. When you just throw this big switch right
But-
over.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
That's all right. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead. To Jesse, probably might figure out where I'm gonna go with this one, because this episode, City of Death, focused quite a bit around Leonardo da Vinci. So I'm going to go ahead to 2010 in the episode Vincent and the Doctor,
Vincent and the Doctor. Yeah.
especially since it was on last night, and it was too coincidental for.
Yeah.
The Shakespeare, I thought you might have gone with the
I
Shakespeare.
was tempted to go with
Shakespeare
Shakespeare
one, yeah.
Code, but
Yeah,
I was
okay.
tempted to go with that one. That was a backup, but
Mhm.
I think Vincent and the Doctor works because you've got the whole thing centered around Vincent van Gogh, as in Loth,
Gosh. Yep.
and
I learned that from QI.
I learned that from
Yeah.
Sylvester McCoy.
Oh,
Right.
cool.
So, because he's Scottish, so of course it's Gogh as in
Gosh.
Cool.
I think he says it in one of his episodes too.
Mhm.
But yeah, you've got the 11th Doctor takes Amy Pond to the Musée d'Orsay in Paris to admire Van Gogh's work. But then the Doctor sees an alien figure in the window of the painting, the Church at Auvers, and so that sends him to go back in time, just like he went back in time in this story, City of Death, to speak with Van Gogh in live in person and to investigate what's going on. And then, of course, they find that there's like an invisible monster that only Van Gogh can see. So, yeah, I felt that, just keeping with the art theme, because so much of City of Death is centered around art. I mean, you have it set in art galleries. There's an art gallery in Vincent and the Doctor. So,
Absolutely.
it's that kind of art appreciation.
Well,
Yeah,
and-
we really didn't. I mean, we got a little bit with Shakespeare, but I mean, as far as classic artists, I mean, granted, okay, Leonardo's from the Renaissance, but and then Van Gogh is an impressionist, but still, it's art history, and so
well, and
so it makes-
I will tell you, Vincent the Doctor, it's always a good time to see it,
Mhm.
and especially if you feel like having a good cry. So yes, excellent choice. I think that's a better choice than the Shakespeare Code. Yeah, absolutely wonderful.
you-
Good.
Do
Yes.
you remember the line? I can't remember it, but in City of Death, when he goes back to the Renaissance, there's a window open and he breathes it in and he says something like,
that Renaissance air.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love that line.
I love the Renaissance.
Yeah,
He even
that's
repeats it. He even repeats it once he sees the Count after he goes back. He goes, "Oh, don't you
Yeah.
prefer the Renaissance era?"
Yeah.
It's like,
And another thing they did in this episode that I love is when the Doctor makes a casual reference about interacting with someone famous, and he talked about, helping Shakespeare write, and, the Hamlet, that's in my writing. He had,
yeah, that's my hand.
he'd sprained his wrist. And so, it's
Yeah,
just
because
very
he's
nice.
put his
Right.
touch on all sorts of important things, and
Absolutely.
it's just a throwaway.
Yeah.
You know?
Which I
Oh
love.
yes, I was there.
But the Count kind of keys in on that too, because he goes, "No, you mustn't meddle in time," and like the Count goes, "Well, what do you do?"
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. Yes, but I'm a professional.
Exactly. I know what I'm
I'm a
doing. I know
pro.
what I'm doing.
I know what I'm doing.
Except he truly doesn't sometimes.
Well, as Amy said, Time Lord is just the title. It doesn't mean he knows what he's doing.
Right.
That's right.
So Karen, thank you so much for joining us. Ken, thank
You're
you.
welcome.
It was
No
as
problem.
much fun as we thought it was going to be. Karen, where can people find you?
I am at Oliveri on the Twitter machine, and my About Me link is in my bio, and that's where all my things are listed.
And we need to send Ken the link to your Under the Domes so that in 6 months or a year from now, when he gets to where he binges watches Under the Dome, he will appreciate hearing your.
Well, easily
I'm sure
enough,
there's still- yeah.
Yes.
on Facebook, you can look us up at just type in Chester's Mill Gazette,
Yes.
Hmm.
and we are there.
Okay.
But
And-
also,
We're a few weeks away from going to back Talking Castle.
yes, that's right.
I'm excited.
But the Chester's Mill Gazette is in my About Me link as well.
Very
so
nice.
You can click there.
And Ken, you are getting to be a regular. Here's your second
Oh.
podcast.
Oh, my second
Okay.
podcast. Ooh.
Yay.
I
So,
just got Castle season 6, disc 1 from Netflix, by the
Yay.
way. They're releasing 6 and 7 back to back. 7 starts shipping like on the 22nd of September.
Okay.
So it's really weird. So I'm going to be binging on Castles too, which will be
Okay.
really,
And
really
so
good.
if someone wants to talk to you,
I am Dirkmaster on the Twitter and on G Plus for all the crazy kids.
Yes.
And for
Yeah.
however much longer that lasts.
Yep.
And that's about it, because I'm not even sure that my old blog, King of the Bad Movies, is even still online. So, but you can get me at those two places if you care to, although why you would.
I just followed you today, and I have
Yeah,
no
I
idea
saw that. I
why
followed
I was not following you before.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised too, because I realized I wasn't following you. I'm like, wait,
Yeah,
huh?
Yep.
I've
Huh?
seen you in Jesse's tweets before, and I just assumed we were following each other. But
Yeah, I
Well,
did
it's
too.
That's probably because like I forward a lot of like Karen
Yeah.
Twitter and
Oh.
Jesse does and all that. So
yes.
Yeah, and like I said, I think Charles was like the very first person I ever followed after
So
people I've actually met.
so here's this tells you what good friends I have. Someone randomly, and I think it's because they think I'm the other Jesse Jackson, sent me tweets about Muslims.
this
Oh
is so
my God,
weird.
that
This is
guy.
so
Oh.
And so I said, well, I wish you the best, but hey, why are you doing this? And I think you need to hear the truth. And because I originally said, I think you're talking to the wrong Jesse Jackson. So I replied back going, okay, if you want, would you mind going to Next Stop Everywhere and give us a rating or a review?
I love that.
nice
So-
plug.
Trying to
Ken-
get the troll to plug him. Okay.
So
love-
Ken sends me a tweet going, your heart's in the right place, but you're wasting your time. Better to block him. And which is so Ken. And Charles is like, this is how you handle a troll.
Well, this is how you handle a strange person with a strange that keeps tweeting strange messages.
Yes.
Right.
I thought it was perfectly like, okay, Well, hey, if you're gonna bomb me with stuff, or like all this,
Then I'll bomb you back.
exactly. Yeah, like here. Why don't you check out my blog or
Right.
or my, like our page?
Okay.
Yeah, well, he's saying check out my info.
Yeah. So here.
So you just go, here's my info.
Yeah, so why don't you check out mine?
Right.
So Charles,
That's the
where can they
perfect
find
counter
you?
for that.
Yes.
And then block him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah. But anyway, I'm at Charles Skaggs on Twitter and at Charles Skaggs on Instagram, and Google Plus for all you crazy kids on the Google Plus.
Yes.
Right on.
And right on. Can you dig it?
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it?
Can you dig it?
And, you and Karen are going to be busy come the fall.
Yes, we are.
Oh my God, don't even.
And because like I do my blog, Geeky Things, Damn Good Coffee in the Hot.
Lori's going to hate me.
But Karen, yes, the lovely Karen Lindsay and I do this wonderful podcast together called the Fandom Zone Podcast, where we talk about comics on television. And Lord Almighty, there are a lot of comic book shows on television this season.
Did we know how many there were going to be when we decided to do that?
Well, we started like a year ago on this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's a bit more now.
You guys may have to just
Flash,
rate
Arrow,
all of them and then
Okay.
kind of do
And then
just
pick
few.
out a couple that
Yeah.
We're probably gonna have to go okay, we're gonna cover this week and maybe this show next week, something like
Right.
that, maybe.
Absolutely.
Right now, it's not too
Yeah.
bad because we're just doing
Yeah.
Fear the Walking Dead and
Okay.
Birds of Prey.
and finishing up Birds of Prey.
Prince Birds of Prey, and then but Gotham's going to be starting in a couple weeks.
Yep.
And then
I think Gotham starts
Arrow coming-
right when doesn't Gotham finish right when Birds of Prey is going to be done?
exactly, yeah, because as long as we don't have any more where you skip weeks. We've got
Yeah, we will.
we'll have the final episode of Birds of Prey, and then next week will be Gotham episode 1 of season 2. So
Yeah. So it'll be Fear the Walking Dead and Gotham.
yes, for a couple weeks, and then Flash and Arrow show.
And Flash and Arrow.
What about Supergirl?
And things get
We're not doing Supergirl?
Supergirl doesn't show up until November.
Yeah.
Oh, see, I thought it had
We
started
got a little-
already,
we got
'cause
a-
they were
Well, the pilot's already out.
The pilot's out, but
that must
but-
be-
And Lucifer's already out.
but as for
that looks good.
Lucifer,
I'm looking
actually,
forward to that.
the pilot is really good. Karen and I both.
It is. Yeah, we talked about it on one of our episodes.
Okay. Yeah.
Supergirl and Lucifer.
Yep,
So.
talked about the pilots. But
I am at Jesse Jackson DFW.
Oh, sorry.
Trying to get control back again. Next week there should be no Next Stop Everywhere unless Charles decides to do something
well,
with someone.
actually, now that
We
you
have a
mention
bit of
it,
an
Okay.
an announcement here, because yes, with Jesse off hobnobbing with the elites at Dragon Con and schmoozing and all that, Karen and I have decided, or at least I've decided to hey, Karen, why
No,
don't you...
Karen and I have.
Okay,
It's okay.
okay. Karen and I have decided that, hey, why don't we do another Tom Baker episode?
Yep.
Oh, awesome.
Oh,
So, Karen, why don't you tell them which episode we're going to cover?
We are going to do Underworld next week.
And that's not the one with Kate Beckinsale.
Okay.
No. It's much before that.
Yeah, it's a little
That
before
movie
Kate-
came out. Yes.
I
So
will have
we're
to
going
watch
to-
that and then get to hear you guys. That's fun. I never get to hear an episode. So
He gave me a list of episodes that we could talk about, and one of them was written by the guy, loosely by the guy who wrote Dune, or it had something to do with Dune.
it's got Frank Herbert in it?
No, not Frank Herbert.
No.
Someone that worked on the screenplay
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
Dune,
Hmm.
and I was like, no, because I
Okay.
didn't like that movie.
Yeah,
I was like, no, that's
I
out.
love Dune, but
Yeah, I know.
Oh,
you do,
yeah.
but I don't. So
okay.
I was like, okay, that one's out.
Okay, so
Well, very
Underworld, we're
nice.
talking season 15.
Yeah.
That would be serial 96.
Yep.
Okay, good. I got it.
Good.
So yeah, so that's your homework for the week. Is
All right.
to, whenever this actually gets posted, who knows? But that's your homework, is to watch Underworld,
Okay.
and come back, and then you'll have the Fandom Zone podcast doing Next Stop Everywhere. So
Good.
yeah,
And I will be tweeting from Dragon Con. And Tom Zoller and I are going to be hanging together, so it should be a lot of fun. I'll see
That'll be
Wendy
cool.
from our
And
previous.
We're going to be talking about
podcast.
Doctor Who, so eat it, Jesse.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
it's-
but he's with Tom, and Tom's a pretty great guy, let me tell you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Although
Tom
there's no
is-
Ramona in Underworld.
Oh snap!
And I, by the time we get back, should have. I am going to start a Bruce Springsteen podcast because why wouldn't I?
Take a
And
drink. Take a
and I've already recorded the first episode. It went really good, and I'm hoping Rob's going to get some
Can you
things
dig
out. Yeah, absolutely. So, Karen, Ken, thank you so much. You guys are welcome anytime.
Thank you
Right.
for letting me pick one and for letting me talk to Ken.
Yes.
Yay!
Yay.
It was fun time with you, Karen. I enjoyed this a lot.
You guys mentioned to me the last time I was on, we talked about it, and after the podcast ended, I just want to talk about the origins of how this came about, just quickly
Yeah.
before we end.
Sure.
We shut off the podcast, and you guys said, Ken always says that you should be a permanent co-host on this.
I have said that many times, yes.
Yes. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't we get together and do one with Ken and me? And we'll pick Tom Baker episode.
And here we are.
And
Right.
here we
And
are.
I picked City of Death, which I think was a stellar pick.
Yes, absolutely true.
It is a
for all
still
of us to
pick.
talk about. So
Yes.
that's how this came about. And I am so happy I got to do this with you, Ken, that we have to do it again sometime.
Yes,
absolutely.
absolutely.
We will.
Absolutely.
Because we do have, let's see, we do have a Series 9 preview. Don't
Yeah.
we coming? Do we have that coming
Yes,
up?
we do. Yeah, 9/13 is when we're going to record the pre-season discussion. Please send in your thoughts, hopes, dreams for the new season, and then on 9/20 we will be talking. Depending on Cowboy schedules, we have to and Brown schedules.
And also I'm going to be like,
Sports
there's going to be a little convention I'm going to be going to, Salt Lake Comic Con. So
Ah.
Okay,
very
that
You're
is
going
okay.
to Salt Lake Comic Con?
yep.
That's a goodly trip for you, isn't it?
Yeah, because Lori has relatives out in Salt Lake, so it works out great because we're going to stay there for the week, and then we can also we're going to hit the con for 3 days, and so it's fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And then now that we know that Jenna Coleman is going to be there,
Yay.
Ooh.
Nice.
because unfortunately River Song bailed out, but Jenna was a nice replacement though.
River Song bailed out at Dragon Con.
Yep.
But Missy is going to be down on Houston on the 19th. So
That's cool.
I'm thinking about going down there. So for now, keep hope alive. And you were there for me when I had a bad day. Always like to return a favor. Got a little bit glitchy in the middle there, but it sort of worked out in the end. Story of my life, and I would argue the story of this podcast specifically. Thanks, everyone. We will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.